Hello, dear friends. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Mukesh English, and this is Mukesh Soni. In this video, I'm going to talk about a famous speech by Martin Luther King Jr. titled "I Have a Dream." Dr. Martin Luther King's famous speech, "I Have a Dream," is one of the most celebrated oratory pieces in American history. King delivered the speech from the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. on August 28, 1963, as the final speech of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. The main objective was to advocate for equal rights in access to freedom and jobs. The speech begins. He opens his speech by stating his delight in being together with the empathizers and those who turned out for the march. King commemorates the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation 100 years before the march by Abraham Lincoln. He proclaims that it is a joyous daybreak to end the long night of captivity. The speech begins where he explores the issues faced by African Americans in the year 1963, claiming that over 100 years later, they still lack freedom. Instead, they are seriously crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. He points out the poverty that blacks have had to persevere. He states that when the Constitution was drafted and the Declaration of Independence made, the nation's founders were drafting a promissory note to each American that everybody has unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and this encompasses both black and white men. King laments that America has defaulted on the check whereby black citizens have been deprived of these rights. To be precise, his words were, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check that has come back marked insufficient funds. That means to say, the promise to provide, the promise to give the equal rights was not fulfilled, and they are still deprived of these rights. The optimistic tone begins here by saying where Martin Luther King, he takes a more optimistic tone by reiterating that the bank of justice does not lack funds. He claims that there's a sense of urgency in the mission. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of grandiloquism. He makes the use of four seasons as a metaphor to describe this urgency by stating that the legitimate dissatisfaction of African American is a sweltering summer and that equality and freedom shall be something like invigorating autumn. He makes a promise that this particular protest shall not easily vanish. He further states that the cyclones of revolution will carry on until justice arises. He mentions a word of caution where he offers a word of caution to his people not to indulge in any unlawful deeds. He advises them that let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. Dr. King offered real proof that the change was possible without using violence, even though much violence existed at the time of civil rights movement. He always stood for peace. Additionally, he urged others to carry out the protest in peace. So, what is the Dr. King's dream for the nation of America? Dr. King states his dream for the nation of America finally, and this reinforces the equal rights of the protesters. He claims that his dream is for the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. This was his dream. This statement is an emphasis on the need for the members of all races to cooperate and live in love. This is the key to his message within this speech as well as the civil rights movement. And the line says here, finally, his dream where he mentions, I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but by the content of the character. This is the dream which Dr. Martin Luther King like to mention here for the nation of America. I repeat, the dream is, I have a dream that my four little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of the skin, but by the content of the character. Now, what is the importance of giving recognition to the whites? Even he mentions that there's an importance that we should give recognition to the whites. The King's Martin Luther stressed upon the importance of giving recognition to the whites who are willing to protest for the same cause. He termed them as allies that are necessary to the success of the cause. He insists that the marches will not cease as long as blacks are turned away from hotels, subject to police brutality, segregation, and the denial of voting rights. Finally, the speech concludes. In conclusion, Martin Luther King Jr. states that every human is God's child, whether white, black, Gentile, Jew, Catholic, or even Protestant. He one day hopes they will unite in freedom. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching this video. You can reach me at mukeshenglish@gmail.com. Please do subscribe the channel, click on the like button for more videos on literature, workbook, pronunciation, grammar, communication skills, presentation skills, interview skills. Stay in tune with Mukesh English. Thank you once again.